The alarm bells echoed through the corridors of the human diplomatic ship, New Sol. Red lights flashed across every wall and ceiling as crew members ran to their stations. Captain June Park stood on the bridge, his face pale as he read the message that had just arrived from Earth. 30 days, he said quietly to his sister Hannah, who worked at the engineering console nearby. They're giving us 30 days to prove humanity deserves to exist. Hannah Kim looked up from her work, her dark eyes reflecting the red warning lights. At 24 years old, she was the youngest engineer on the ship, but she had already saved their lives twice during the long journey to the Galactic Council station. Her small hands moved quickly across the control panel as she tried to process what her brother had just said. "What do you mean, prove we deserve to exist?" she asked. June handed her the official message. The words were written in the cold, formal language that the Galactic Council used for all their death sentences. Humanity had been judged too violent and primitive to remain among the civilized species of the galaxy. Earth would be destroyed by orbital bombardment unless one human could complete the trial of champions. Myra Lee, the ship's diplomatic officer, burst onto the bridge. Her usually perfect hair was messy, and her diplomatic uniform was wrinkled. She had been working without sleep for 3 days, trying to find any way to change the council's decision. "I've talked to every species representative I can find," Mira said, breathing hard. "They won't listen. They say humans are too dangerous. Point to our wars, our weapons, our history of violence. They're scared of us." Kana read the message again, focusing on the details of the trial of champions. One human would enter the great arena and fight 7 battles against the galaxy's greatest warriors. Each battle would be harder than the last. No species had ever completed the trial on their first attempt. Most champions died in the first or second fight. "This is insane," said Dr. Yuna Choi, the ship's medical officer, as she joined them on the bridge. "They want us to send someone to die for their entertainment. It's not a trial, it's an execution." The bridge fell silent, except for the humming of the ship's engines. Everyone knew Dr. Choi was right. The trial was designed to give hope while ensuring failure. The galaxy would watch a human die fighting, and then they would destroy Earth with clear consciences. "Who are they sending?" Kana asked quietly. June looked uncomfortable. "The council wants our best warrior. Someone who can represent all of humanity." "We don't have anyone like that," Myra said. "The security team has good soldiers, but they're not gladiators. This arena has been running for thousands of years. The fighters there have killed more people than our entire military." Hannah stood up from her console. She was small, even for a human woman, barely reaching her brother's shoulder. But there was something in her eyes that made everyone turn to look at her. "I'll do it," she said. The bridge erupted in protests. June stepped forward and grabbed his sister's arm. "Absolutely not," he said firmly. "You're an engineer, not a fighter. I won't let you commit suicide." "I'm not committing suicide," Hannah replied calmly. "I'm giving humanity its only chance." Dr. Choi shook her head. "Hannah, you're brave, but this is madness. The arena fighters are massive. Some of them are 3 times your size. They've been training to kill since they were children." Hannah walked to the main screen and brought up the arena specifications that had been included with the trial announcement. The great arena was a massive structure, larger than most cities on Earth. It could change its configuration for each battle, creating different environments and challenges. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the technical details. "The arena isn't just about fighting. It's about adapting. Each battle uses different technology, different environments, different rules. They're not just testing strength, they're testing intelligence." Mira moved closer to the screen. As a diplomat, she was trained to find hidden meanings in official documents. "She might be right," Mira said slowly. "Look at the historical records. The champions who lasted longest weren't always the strongest. They were the ones who could think quickly and adapt to new situations. That's still not enough, June argued. Even if you're right about the intelligence part, you still have to survive 7 fights against professional killers. Hannah turned to face her brother. Who else are we going to send? You're a good soldier, but you think like a soldier. You follow rules and protocols. In the arena, there are no rules except survival. She gestured to the rest of the bridge. Crew, Mira is brilliant with words, but she's never been in a real fight. Dr. Choi could probably explain exactly how someone is dying, but she couldn't stop it. I'm the only one here who has any chance at all. What makes you think you can succeed where entire civilizations have failed? Dr. Choi asked. Anna was quiet for a moment, thinking about her answer. She had been studying martial arts since she was 6 years old, not for sport or exercise, but because she loved the way it made her think. Fighting was like engineering in her mind. It was about finding solutions to problems, about using the tools available to achieve an impossible goal. Because I'm human, she said finally. The council thinks that makes us violent and primitive. But being human also means we never stop trying to survive. We adapt, we improvise, find ways to win when winning should be impossible. The alarm bells had stopped, but the red lights continued to flash. Everyone on the bridge knew that in 30 days, Earth would be a dead planet unless someone could achieve the impossible. June looked at his sister for a long time. He had raised her after their parents died in the colony wars. He had taught her to be strong, to never give up, to protect the people she loved. Now she was asking him to let her walk into certain death. The decision isn't yours to make anyway, Mira said, quietly. The Galactic Council has to approve Earth's champion. They might not accept you. Hannah smiled for the first time since the message had arrived. Then we'll have to convince them that a small human engineer is exactly what they want to see die in their arena. As the new soul continued its journey toward the council station, Hannah began preparing for the most important presentation of her life. She would have to convince the most powerful beings in the galaxy that she was worthy of representing humanity in their trial. What none of them knew was that by accepting her as Earth's champion, the galaxy would change forever. The transport ship carrying Hannah to the arena station was nothing like the clean, organized human vessels she was used to. The walls were covered in strange alien symbols that seemed to move when she looked at them directly. The air smelled like metal and something else she couldn't identify. Other passengers on the ship kept their distance from her, whispering in languages she had never heard before. Hannah sat alone in the corner of the passenger compartment, trying to stay calm. Through the small window beside her, she could see the arena station growing larger as they approached. It was massive, beyond anything she had imagined. The station looked like a small moon made of metal and glass, with thousands of lights covering its surface. Ships from across the galaxy moved around it like insects around a bright lamp. It's first time seeing the arena, asked a voice behind her. Hannah turned to see an alien creature, unlike anything in the human databases. It stood on 2 legs like a human, but it was covered in thick gray fur and had 4 arms instead of 2. Its face was long and narrow, with large yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light of the transport. Yes, Hannah replied carefully. She had been warned not to trust anyone she met on the way to the arena. I am Kai Song, the creature said in surprisingly good human language. I have fought in the arena for 12 years, still alive, as you can see. Hannah Kim, she replied. I'm representing humanity in the trial of champions. Kai's expression changed, and all 4 of his arms moved in what might have been surprise. The trial. You are the human champion. Other passengers began turning to look at them. Hannah could feel their eyes studying her, measuring her, trying to understand how someone so small could be chosen for such an important task. The whole galaxy has been talking about it, Kai continued. No one believes your species will survive even one fight. The betting odds are very bad for you. How bad? Hana asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Most people are betting you will die in the first 30 seconds. The transport shuddered as it docked with the arena station. Through the speakers, a mechanical voice announced their arrival in dozens of different languages. Hannah recognized a few words from her diplomatic training, but most of it sounded like noise. Let me give you some advice, Kai said as they prepared to leave the ship. The arena has rules, but they are not written down anywhere. It's the first rule. It's simple. Never show fear. The crowd can smell fear, and once they smell it, they will never respect you. What's the second rule? Hannah asked. Kill or be killed. Everything else is just entertainment. The docking tunnel connected them to what looked like the largest building Hannah had ever seen. The ceiling disappeared into shadows far above their heads. Thousands of different alien species moved through the corridors, some walking, some flying, some sliding along the walls in ways that made her dizzy to watch. A tall, thin alien with pale blue skin approached them as they entered the main terminal. It wore an official uniform covered in symbols that probably meant something important. Hannah Kim of Earth, it asked in perfectly clear human language. That's me. I am Arena Master Deck. I will oversee your trials. Please follow me. They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Hannah saw shops selling weapons, armor, and medical supplies. She saw restaurants serving food that moved on the plates. She saw gambling booths where aliens were already placing bets on her upcoming fights. The first battle will begin tomorrow morning, Arena Master Deck explained as they walked. Your opponent will be Gorvel of the 4th Warrior Clan. He has killed 43 challengers in the arena. He requested to fight you personally. Why? Hannah asked. He finds the idea of fighting a human amusing. He believes it will be easy entertainment for the crowd. Hay stopped at a heavy door marked with alien symbols. Arena Master Deck pressed his hand against a scanner, and the door slid open to reveal a small room with simple furniture and a narrow window. This is your quarters. Food will be delivered 3 times per day. You may request specific items if your species has special dietary needs. The arena medical staff can treat most injuries, but they cannot bring back the dead. Hannah stepped into the room and looked around. It was clean, but basic, like a military barracks. The window showed a view of the arena floor far below, where maintenance crews were preparing for tomorrow's battles. May I ask you something? She said to Arena Master Deck. You may ask. I may not answer. Has anyone ever completed the Trial of Champions on their first attempt? Arena Master Deck was quiet for a long moment. 3 species have completed the trial in the past 1,000 years. The Carathians took 6 attempts over 2 centuries. The Zulani took 11 attempts over 4 centuries. The Hegemony took 23 attempts over 8 centuries, and on the first attempt, never. It is considered impossible, After Arena Master Deck left, Hannah sat on the simple bed and looked out at the arena floor. Even from this distance, she could see how massive it was. The fighting area was larger than several city blocks, and she could see machinery that would allow the floor to change shape and configuration between battles. Her door chimed, and Kai Song entered, carrying a small package. Atia, I brought you something, he said, setting the package on her table. Bantic Arena Survival Kit, bandages, energy tablets, pain medication, all legal under arena rules. Why are you helping me? Because in 12 years of fighting, I have never seen the arena crowd more excited about a single battle. They expect you to die quickly and dramatically. I think it would be more interesting if you survived long enough to surprise them. Hannah opened the package and found medical supplies that looked more advanced than anything humans had developed. What do you know about Gorval? He is big, even for a fourth, strong enough to tear steel with his bare hands, fast enough to catch flying prey. He has never lost a fight in the arena. Oh, what's his weakness? Kai smiled, showing teeth that looked like they could bite through metal. He has never fought anything like you. Fourth warriors are trained to fight other large, strong opponents. They use power against power, strength against strength. K, you are small and weak by arena standards. He will not know how to fight you. That doesn't sound very encouraging. It should be. Q, in the arena, the unexpected often defeats the expected. Your weakness might be your greatest strength. After Kai left, Hannah spent the evening studying everything she could find about Vorth, anatomy, and fighting techniques. The arena's computer system had detailed records of every battle fought there, including slow-motion analysis of combat techniques. She watched Gorval's previous fights until she had memorized every move he made. He was indeed massive and incredibly strong, but she began to notice patterns in how he moved and attacked as the station's artificial day cycle dimmed to simulate night. Hannah lay on her bed and thought about Earth. Somewhere far away, billions of humans were watching the news, waiting to learn if their species would survive or die tomorrow. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep, knowing that in a few hours she would step into the arena and discover whether being human was enough to achieve the impossible. The arena floor was even more massive than it had looked from Hannah's window. Standing at the entrance tunnel, she could see thousands of alien spectators, filling the seats that rose up like a metal mountain around the fighting area. Their voices created a sound like thunder as they cheered and shouted in languages from across the galaxy. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, announced the arena's voice system in perfect translation for every listener. Today, we witnessed the first trial battle of the human champion, Hannah Kim of Earth. The crowd's roar grew louder. Hannah could see aliens pointing at her and making gestures that probably meant they expected her to die quickly. She walked into the arena wearing simple human combat clothing and carrying no weapons. The rules stated that fighters could only use what they found in the arena itself. Across the massive floor, another tunnel opened. Gorval stepped out, and Hannah understood immediately why the crowd was so excited. The fourth warrior was nearly 3 meters tall and covered in thick muscle. His gray skin looked like stone, and his forearms ended in claws that could probably cut through metal. He carried no weapons either, but with claws like those, he didn't need any. Begin when ready, Arena Master Deck announced from his position, high above the fighting floor. Gor. Val started walking toward Hannah with slow, confident steps. He was in no hurry. To him, this was not a battle. It was an execution that he planned to enjoy. Hannah ran, not away from Gorval, but toward the nearest wall of the arena. The crowd made sounds of confusion. They had expected her to stand and fight, not run like a scared animal. But Hannah was not running from fear. She was running toward opportunity. The arena walls were covered with maintenance panels, energy conduits, and equipment that kept the massive structure running. Hannah had spent all night studying the arena's technical specifications. She knew exactly what she was looking for. Gorval followed her, moving faster now. His long legs covered the distance quickly, and his claws left deep marks in the arena floor. As he ran, when he was close enough, he swung one massive arm toward her head. Hannah dropped and rolled under his swing. As she came up, she grabbed a piece of broken metal from a previous battle and threw it at an energy panel on the wall. Sparks flew as the panel exploded, and a section of the wall opened to reveal the maintenance tunnels behind it. Clever little human, Gorval said in his deep voice. But hiding will only delay your death. I'm not hiding, Hannah replied, grabbing a length of power cable from the damaged wall. I'm adapting, okay? She wrapped one end of the cable around her hand and swung the other end like a whip. The cable had been carrying power to the arena systems, and it still held an electrical charge. When it hit Gorvel's arm, blue energy crackled across his skin. The fourth warrior roared in pain and anger. He had never been hurt by such a small opponent before. He charged at Hannah with all four arms spread wide, trying to grab her and end the fight quickly. But Hannah was no longer where he expected her to be. She had climbed into the maintenance tunnel and was moving through the arena's infrastructure like it was a jungle gym. Her small size, which had seemed like such a disadvantage, now allowed her to go places Gorvel could never follow. The crowd was on its feet now, cheering and shouting. This was not the quick execution they had expected. The tiny human was actually fighting back, and she was doing it in ways they had never seen before. Hannah emerged from another tunnel on the opposite side of the arena. In her hands, she carried a device she had built from spare parts in the maintenance areas. It looked like a simple metal tube, but when she pointed it at Gorvel and pressed a button, it shot a net of energy cables that wrapped around his legs. Gorvel fell hard, shaking the entire arena floor. He tried to get up, but the energy net held him down. The more he struggled, the tighter it became. "Impossible," he growled. "You are just a weak human. How are you doing this?" "'Cause I'm not trying to be stronger than you," Hannah replied, circling around him carefully. "I'm trying to be smarter than you." The second battle came 3 days later. Hannah's opponent was a creature called Vex, who looked like a giant insect with razor-sharp wings and poison stingers. Vex could fly and attack from any direction, making it almost impossible to defend against. But Hannah had learned something important from her first battle. The arena was not just a fighting space. It was a tool that could be used by anyone smart enough to understand how it worked. During the battle with Vex, Hannah managed to overload one of the arena's gravity generators. Suddenly, part of the fighting area had reversed gravity, and Vex found itself flying toward the ceiling instead of at Hannah, while the creature struggled to control its flight. Hannah used pieces of broken equipment to build a device that disrupted its nervous system. The third battle was against a shapeshifter called Morphin, who could change its body into any form it needed. Hannah defeated it by flooding part of the arena with a chemical mist that made it impossible for Morph to maintain any shape except its natural form. After each victory, a crowd's reaction changed. They were no longer laughing at the small human. They were beginning to understand that they were watching something completely new. Hannah was not fighting like any species they had ever seen. She was fighting like an engineer who treated each battle as a problem to be solved. News of Hannah's victories spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communications. On worlds throughout known space, beings who had never heard of humans before were suddenly learning about the tiny species that produced warriors who could think their way out of impossible situations. Arena Master Deck watched the battles from his control room with growing interest. In 1,000 years of overseeing the arena, he had never seen a fighter adapt and evolve as quickly as this human. Each battle taught her new things about combat, technology, and herself. "What is she?" asked his assistant, a young Kaleri who had never seen anything like Hannah's fighting style. "She is proof that intelligence can be more dangerous than strength," Deck replied. "And she is about to face her greatest test yet." The fourth battle would be against Zeltar, a Vorth champion who had never been defeated. He had killed over 200 arena fighters, and he had been studying Hannah's previous battles very carefully. Unlike Gorvel, Zeltar would not underestimate the human. As Hannah prepared for the fight that could end her winning streak, she realized that she was changing. Each battle pushed her beyond normal human limits. She was learning to think faster, move quicker, and see possibilities that had never occurred to her before. She was evolving, and the galaxy was watching every step of her transformation. The arena had never been so crowded. Beings from every corner of the galaxy had traveled to the station to witness what many were calling the most important battle in arena's history. News feeds showed crowds gathered around screens on thousands of worlds, all waiting to see if the human could survive her sixth trial. Hannah sat in her quarters, staring at the file arena Master Deck had given her about her next opponent. Zeltar, the God Killer, had earned his name by defeating the champions of 6 different species so completely that those civilizations had given up trying to fight in the arena forever. He was not just strong or fast. He was intelligent, experienced, and absolutely ruthless. "He has been studying your battles," Kai Song said as he entered her room. "He knows every technique you have used, every trick you have learned. He will be ready for all of it." "Then I'll have to do something new," Hannah replied, closing the file. "Something he can't prepare for." "What could you possibly do that he hasn't seen before?" "He has fought for 30 years. He has killed champions who were stronger than you, faster than you, smarter than you." Hannah stood and walked to her window. Below, she could see the arena being reconfigured for tomorrow's battle. Massive machines were installing new equipment and changing the entire layout of the fighting area. "He has never fought a human before," she said quietly. "And I don't think he really understands what that means." The next morning, Hannah walked into an arena unlike any she had seen before. The floor was covered with a maze of metal barriers that moved and shifted every few minutes. Gravity fields created areas where up and down changed direction randomly. Energy storms crackled through the air, turning the fighting space into a deadly obstacle course. "Welcome to the Chaos Configuration," announced Arena Master Deck. "This battlefield has been specifically designed to test fighters under the most extreme conditions possible." Zeltar emerged from the opposite tunnel, and Hannah immediately understood why he was called the God Killer. He was even larger than Gorval, but where Gorval had been crude and simple, Zeltar moved with the grace of a dancer and the precision of a machine. His dark purple skin was covered in scars from countless battles, and his 6 arms each held a different weapon he had taken from defeated opponents. "Tay, so you are the human who thinks she can change the natural order," Zeltar said in a voice like grinding stone. "I have ended civilizations, little creature. You are nothing special." "Maybe not," Hannah replied, checking her equipment. "But I'm still here, and 6 of your opponent's species aren't." The battle began with Zeltar moving like lightning. He used the shifting barriers as weapons, timing his attacks to coincide with the gravity changes. His 6 weapons worked together in patterns that created a web of death around him. Hannah had to run, dodge, and dive just to stay alive. But as she moved through the chaos of the arena, something strange began to happen. The random changes in gravity and the moving barriers started to make sense to her. Her engineering mind began to see patterns in what looked like pure randomness. "The arena isn't random at all," she realized, speaking to herself as she rolled under one of Zeltar's sword strikes. "It's following a program, and if it's following a program, it can be predicted." Zeltar heard her words and laughed. "Many have tried to solve the chaos configuration. All have died trying." "They weren't human," Hannah replied. She began moving differently, not just avoiding Zeltar's attacks, but using the arena's own movements to help her. When a gravity field reversed, she was ready for it and used it to change direction in midair. When barriers moved, she was already calculating where they would be in the next few seconds. The crowd fell silent as they watched something impossible happening. The human was not just surviving in the chaos configuration. She was beginning to control it. Zeltar realized the danger and increased his attacks. He moved faster than any living being should be able to move, his 6 weapons creating a storm of death around Hannah. But she was no longer the same fighter who had entered the arena weeks ago. Each battle had taught her new things about combat, about technology, and about herself. "You cannot defeat me," Zeltar growled as he pressed his attack. "I am perfect. I am unstoppable. I and death itself. No, Hannah said, finally understanding something that had been bothering her since the trials began. You're just very good at killing. But I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to solve you. Okay. She stopped running and turned to face Zeltar directly. As he charged at her with all 6 weapons raised, she did something no arena fighter had ever done before. She spoke directly to the arena's computer system using the engineering codes she had learned while studying the station's systems arena. Control Emergency Protocols 77 Alpha. Disable Gravity in Section 12. Reverse Barrier Movement in Section 9. Activate Maintenance Mode in the Energy Storm Generators. The arena responded to her commands. Suddenly, Zeltar found himself floating in zero gravity while his weapons became useless in the changed environment. The moving barriers trapped his floating form, and the energy storms that had been random became predictable patterns that Hannah could navigate easily. It's impossible, Zeltar said as he struggled helplessly in the trap Hannah had created. The arena does not obey fighters. It is neutral. It serves no one. It serves whoever understands it well enough to ask properly, Hannah replied. And humans are very good at understanding machines. She moved through the now controlled chaos of the arena and reached Zeltar, where he floated, trapped between 2 barriers. Instead of killing him, she simply removed his weapons one by one and placed them out of his reach. I yield, Zeltar said. Finally, his voice filled with something that might have been respect. You have defeated the God Killer. But how? Because you were fighting the arena, Hannah explained. Aha, I made the arena fight for me instead. As arena control returned to the fighting, space to normal configuration, Zeltar fell to the ground. He looked at Hannah with eyes that had seen the death of civilizations, and for the first time in 30 years, those eyes showed something other than certainty. What are you? He asked. I'm human, Hannah replied simply. The crowd erupted in noise, unlike anything the arena had ever heard. Across the galaxy, beings who had been certain the human would die were suddenly realizing that they might be witnessing the birth of something completely new in the control room. Arena Master Deck stared at his instruments in disbelief. No fighter had ever accessed the arena's control systems during a battle. It should have been impossible. But the human had done it as easily as walking through a door. Sir, his assistant said nervously, the Kaleri Council is requesting an immediate meeting. They want to know what kind of being we're dealing with. Vec nodded slowly. He was beginning to wonder the same thing. The human had one more battle to survive, but she had already changed everything. Win or lose, the galaxy would never be the same. As Hannah left the arena floor, she could feel that something inside her had changed again. Each battle pushed her further beyond normal human limits. She was becoming something more than what she had been when she arrived. The final trial would determine not just humanity's fate, but what she herself would become. The arena station had never been so quiet. Every being in the galaxy seemed to be holding their breath as they waited for the final trial to begin. In her quarters, Hannah could feel the weight of billions of eyes watching her through the news feeds. On Earth, her brother June and friend Myra were leading prayer gatherings for people who had never prayed before. The fate of humanity rested on what would happen in the next few hours. Arena Master Deck entered her room without knocking. His usual calm expression was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. The Kaleri High Council has made an unusual decision, he said, his voice tight with tension. Your final opponent will not be another gladiator. Hannah looked up from the meditation exercises she had been practicing. What do you mean? They are sending the Guardian. The words hit Hannah like a physical blow. She had read about the Guardian in the arena's historical files, but she had thought it was just a legend. According to the records, it was an ancient war machine built by the Kaleri race millions of years ago, designed to be the ultimate protector of their most sacred sites. No organic being has ever faced the Guardian and survived, Deck continued. It was built to be perfect, to adapt to any fighting style, to counter any possible attack. The Kaleri created it to be unbeatable. Ken, why are they using it against me? Deck was quiet for a long moment. 'Cause the High Council is afraid. Your victories have shown capabilities that should not exist. They believe you represent a threat to the natural order of the galaxy. So they're going to execute me with their ultimate weapon. They prefer to think of it as a final test. If you can defeat the Guardian, they will acknowledge that humans deserve not just to survive, but to join the highest ranks of galactic civilization. Hannah stood and walked to her window. Below, she could see technicians preparing the arena for something unprecedented. Ancient machinery was being brought out of storage, equipment that had not been used for thousands of years. What happens if I lose? Humanity dies with you. The Guardian's victory will prove that your species has reached its limits. After Deck left, Kai Song visited one last time. The alien warrior who had become her friend and mentor looked older than she had ever seen him. Had been thinking about what makes you different from other fighters, he said, sitting heavily in the chair across from her. It is not just your intelligence or your adaptability. It is something else. What? You do not fight like you are trying to win. You fight like you are trying to learn. Every battle teaches you something new about yourself and your opponents. The Guardian cannot learn. It can only follow its programming. That might not be enough. From what I've read, its programming is perfect. It's perfect for fighting the enemies the Kalari faced millions of years ago. But you are something they never imagined. You are human. The final battle began at dawn, Galactic Standard Time. As Hannah entered the arena, she saw that it had been transformed once again. The floor was now a smooth metal surface covered in patterns that glowed with ancient energy. In the center of the space stood the Guardian. It was beautiful and terrifying. At the same time, the machine stood 4 meters tall and was shaped roughly like a humanoid figure. But its body was made of a metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. Its face was a smooth surface with no features except for 2 points of light where eyes might be. Guardian Unit 7 activated, announced a voice that came from the machine itself. Its threat assessment: human, female, minimal physical capabilities, unknown tactical potential, beginning combat protocols. The Guardian moved with inhuman grace and speed. Its first attack was a simple punch that shattered the arena floor where Hannah had been standing a split second before. She rolled away and immediately began studying how the machine moved. Unlike her previous opponents, the Guardian showed no emotion, made no mistakes, and followed no predictable patterns. It attacked with perfect efficiency, each movement designed to kill as quickly as possible. But as the battle continued, Hannah began to notice something interesting. The Guardian was indeed adapting to her fighting style, just as Deck had warned. But it was adapting based on the tactics she had used in previous battles. It expected her to use the arena's infrastructure against it, so it stayed away from the walls. It expected her to improvise weapons from broken equipment, so it made sure nothing broke nearby. "You're fighting the wrong human," Hannah said as she dodged another devastating attack. "You're fighting the human I was yesterday." She stopped trying to use the tactics that had worked before and instead began doing something completely new. Instead of fighting the Guardian, she began talking to it. "Guardian Unit 7, query. What is your primary mission?" The machine paused for just a moment. "Primary mission: protect Kalari's sacred sites from all threats." Query: define threat. Threat: any being or force capable of damaging Kalari interests. Hannah smiled as she continued to dodge the Guardian's attacks. Query: are the Kalari currently being threatened? Negative. Kalari civilization is secure. Then why are you fighting me? The Guardian stopped attacking entirely for several seconds It stood perfectly still as its advanced mind processed the question. Current mission parameters unclear, it finally said. K. You present no threat to Kalari's sacred sites. K. You are engaged in sanctioned combat in the arena. Mission conflict detected. Guardian Unit 7. I request access to your historical database. Quest denied. Database contains classified information. Override code. Human champion. Trial of champions. Final battle. Arena protocols require full disclosure to trial participants. The machine's eyes flickered as it processed the override code. Override accepted. Historical database accessible. What happened next amazed even Hannah. As she accessed the Guardian's memory banks, she learned the true history of the Kalari race and their ancient enemies. She discovered technologies that had been lost for millions of years. She understood, for the first time, how the arena had really been created and why the trials existed. More importantly, she learned how to reprogram the Guardian. Guardian Unit 7. New mission parameters, she said, her hands moving over control interfaces that materialized from the machine's body. Its primary mission updated. Protect all sentient life, including humans. Threat assessment. Those who would destroy entire species for political convenience. The Guardian's eyes changed from red to blue. Mission parameters updated. Q. Primary threat identified. Kalari High Council members advocating for human genocide. In the viewing area, high above the arena, several Kalari Council members began backing away from their observation posts. Guardian Unit 7. Stand down. Combat protocols disengaged. The ancient war machine bowed its head toward Hannah. Combat trial complete. Human champion victorious through superior understanding of core programming principles. The arena erupted in chaos. Some aliens cheered, others sat in stunned silence, and a few began evacuating the station immediately. Arena Master Thek's voice came over the communication system. Trial of champions complete. Humanity is officially recognized as a sentient species worthy of galactic citizenship. Champion Hannah Kim has achieved what no being has accomplished in recorded history. But Hannah was no longer listening to the crowds or the announcements. She was still connected to the Guardian's database, learning things about the universe that changed her understanding of everything. She was evolving again, becoming something beyond what any human had ever been. When she finally disconnected from the Guardian and looked up at the watching galaxy, her eyes held knowledge that belonged to civilizations millions of years older than humanity. I need to speak with the Galactic Council, she said quietly. 3 days later, Hannah Kim stood before the assembled representatives of every major species in the galaxy. She was no longer just a human who had survived the trials. She was something new, something that bridged the gap between organic intelligence and ancient machine wisdom. Humanity accepts its place among the galactic community, she said. But we come not as students or subjects. We come as partners, bringing our own gifts to share. The council chamber was silent as beings across the galaxy realized that the small, primitive species they had tried to destroy had instead produced something that might reshape the entire universe. Hannah Kim had entered the arena to die. She left as something unprecedented, a human who had become more than human, carrying the hopes of her species and the wisdom of ancient machines into a future that no one could predict. Earth was safe. Humanity had its place among the stars. And the galaxy would never be the same.